This message comes from Greenlight. Ready to start talking to your kids about financial literacy? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app that teaches kids and teens how to earn, save, spend wisely, and invest with your guardrails in place. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Join millions of parents and kids building healthy financial habits together on Greenlight. Get started risk-free at greenlight.com/Wondery.
Craving your next action-packed adventure? Audible delivers thrills of every kind on your command, like Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, where a lone astronaut must save humanity from extinction, narrated with stunning intensity by Ray Porter. From electrifying suspense and daring quest to spine-tingling horror and romance in far-off realms, unleash your adventurous side with gripping titles that'll keep you guessing. Discover exclusive Audible originals, hotly anticipated new releases, and must-listen bestsellers that hook you from the first minute. Because Audible knows there's no greater thrill than the one that speaks to you. Discover what lies beyond the edge of your seat. Start your free 30-day trial at audible.com/WonderyUS. That's audible.com/WonderyUS.
We see you getting after your fitness goals. But what about those money goals? You can count on Credit Karma for a clear view of your finances and your progress, helping you see results so you can keep checking off those financial personal bests and find your way to money. Progress never felt so good. Download the Intuit Credit Karma app and start achieving your money goals today. Intuit Credit Karma. Karma you can count on.
Part 2 of my interview with Mark. My goal for this season was additional proof for you. It remains my singular focus, followed closely by simply telling the story. The expansion of the story into other survivors and others that suffered collateral damage, if you will. I think it's important to the story. You'll hear the rest of my interview with Mark in just a moment. But I want you to know a couple of things that I think are important. During this season, you'll hear from what will most likely be 2 people that know Rachel from working at the airport. Both of these people also know Russ. These stories they share are damning stories and further evidence about what Rachel is all about. There is evidence in the way of pictures and handwritten notes and other things on our social platforms. And if you're interested in seeing those pictures of Rachel actually, you can take a look at our bio in the podcast, or you can always just Google the Rachel cancer scam and you'll get to YouTube or Instagram or TikTok and see those things. Let's get to part 2 of my interview with Mark. At one point, according to Madison, that, Rachel was instrumental in you not speaking to your mom anymore and kind of cutting her out. And this was a result of obviously what you just shared, right? Rachel pushed the agenda, right? You've been instrumental in a lot of ways in terms of what we've been able to put together here, and in terms of me sharing my story. A lot of the information has come from you. It takes a lot for someone in your spot to want to do that. And I know certainly from my side of it, you go from sadness to anger to this shit's just got to stop. Like, she's continuing to do this. And my feeling is that she has pride, and this is no disrespect to you, but I think she's always got to have a man on the hook at some point in some way, is what it seems like to me. I may be wrong in that.
Well, because now she has the girls to contend with, because she would never relinquish the girls to me, because that's like admitting that you were a bad person or a bad mother. So she'll hold on to them for as long as she can. And she needs to have somebody that's going to take care of her, because she's not able to do it on her own. She has proven herself to her own family. And even though they would probably open the door for her, she couldn't live with that shame. She won't talk to her own mother. She's basically blocked her sister out of her life again.
Her sister obviously heard about her own death which is
Exactly.
horrible.
So it doesn't surprise me that she's jumping from one relationship into the next, because this poor sap that she's latched onto, she's just going to be another parasite, and she's going to suck him dry as well.
Do you at all feel like any sort of sympathy from the mental health angle of this at all with her? I mean, obviously you tried to get her help. You offered to take, the money to go and send her somewhere to get her some assistance, because clearly her lying is this pathological thing, the sociopathic behavior. She doesn't give a shit about what she does to anybody. She doesn't care about who's in her wake other than the girls. And as Madison said, the girls may very well be a pawn.
100%. I mean, she's latched onto now so tight. I was even saying this to my brother. I'm like, I can't be mad at the girls, because she's snowballing them just as much as she did to me for the last 20 years.
Sure.
I mean, she's very convincing. That's why the girls all think I'm the devil now. I don't have any sympathy in terms of her mental capacity. I don't have any sympathy anymore, because she was offered help, no strings attached. I'd much rather have my daughters be raised by somebody with a sound mind. This woman doesn't care what happens to my girls. She doesn't care. I can't.
Yeah, sad.
I just can't. I feel like
Yeah.
something has to be done to stop this woman.
And I don't want to get into the details. It's unfair to get into the details of why you can't see them now. But she's working her evil, right? It's a horrific thing to want to do, to create this parental alienation thing that she has concocted, and now is brainwashing, certainly from my perspective as well, is brainwashing the girl. So I'm sorry you have to contend with it. It's heartbreak on top of heartbreak.
It is. I mean, and I think the worst part of it is that she actually turned her own daughters against another daughter.
In fact, that Madison is not talking to the other girls. The other girls aren't talking to Madison.
Exactly. I mean, we were in court yesterday and sat 6 feet away from Madison and couldn't even speak to her, couldn't even look at her. And
that's pretty horrific from a group of girls that were once as thick as thieves.
Exactly.
You met with a group of coworkers of Rachel's back in April or early May as things were unraveling. Without giving specific names, can you tell me how that came together and what happened, what you learned?
So we basically had a roundtable discussion. There was, I think, 7 coworkers and me, and they all wanted to know, was this true? Is that true? Is this true? And everything that they asked me about, whether or not she was an airline pilot, or if she had a PhD in aviation, or if she was an actual RN, was she a nurse? Did she work on the Mercy Air service? None of it was true. It's all fabricated. I mean, she has spent her life fabricating her own lifestyle, but it's not real. It's not based in fact. It's based in fantasy. And when I found this stuff out, I was just like, some of these women were really upset. It looked like they were close to tears, that they couldn't believe that their hero, as they like to call her, was in fact just a pathological liar, just making stuff up as she went along.
There's a lot of detail in this story that people are listening to, but what happened when you got together with everyone is that you found out that Rachel was perpetrating this lie about daughter number 2 attempting suicide, and that she was, according to the girls, and the lie that Rachel was pushing, was in the hospital for this suicide attempt. So Rachel was splitting her time between the hospital and being a pilot and a trauma nurse for Mercy Air.
Yeah. I mean, it was all BS. None of it was real.
You must have just been scratching your head though, Mark. I mean, this is a truly a what the fuck moment.
Absolutely. When they were asking me, how is I'm all, this is fine. She just went to prom last weekend. Why do you ask? You mean she's not in the hospital? In the hospital for what? She didn't try and commit suicide? Not to my knowledge. alive and well, and has a new boyfriend, and she's loving life as far as I can tell.
The whole thing made you scratch your head.
Oh, it's a total head scratcher. I mean, and then you think to yourself, what kind of woman perpetrates that kind of a lie about her own kids? When you look back on it, it makes perfect sense, because that's what she does. She takes these fictional characters in her life, and she'll place them and interweave them into her little made up fantasy world. It's like, it's preposterous. It really is quite amazing that she's been able to do this for as long as she has.
She's an addict to these shows that are out there, these crime shows on Netflix, and she's obviously a voracious reader. But I started to think at one point about when she was in the hospital, I had given her my Netflix password and a password to another site to watch things, and she was watching, and we spoke about Dirty John. We spoke about that show Unbelievable, the woman that had the issue with sexual assault. There were a number of those shows on Netflix. She was obsessed with these kinds of things, and it didn't register until very recently. Even as I started to write the podcast, it didn't register right away that she was really obsessed with these kinds of stories. I would see them on my account. I would look and see what she was watching when she was sick and I couldn't talk to her. I would want to see if she was using the account, and sure enough, I'm looking at this list of shows that she's watching. At the time, I didn't have any reason to think she was any more interested in crime or scammers than I was, for the sake of occupying your time and getting lost in something. Little did I know, this is something right out of one of those shows, any of those shows, or any combination of those shows.
Madison and I were going through our bookcase and getting rid of books that she left behind, and there was a number of different titles, like The Aviator's Wife, and the Cheating Wife, and there was just all of these books about all of the shit she's pulled. And I'm thinking to myself, God, is this your classroom right here? Is this where you got all your ideas? And
listen, this is your interview, but I'll share one or two things from my relationship with her. And it was always so important to her that she was never the other woman. She was always insistent that and which makes sense in a way. Obviously, for normal people, it makes sense. No one wants to be the other person. But this was a huge deal for her the entire time she was allegedly in the hospital, that I wasn't with or around anybody else. Whenever we were together, she would always insist that I was transparent, that I wasn't with anyone. She wasn't with anyone. She knew the pain of being the other woman and didn't want to, inflict that pain, and all of that bullshit. It becomes this thing to me, which was very real and believable. She never wanted to be the other woman, but the entire time she made me the other man. The entire time I was always the other man. The first time I was with her, she was actually still married to Todd. And then I was with her after that when you were with her. And then years after that, I was with her thinking you were gone, but you were still with her. And in 2021, like, that whole thing when we came together was the way that happened. I never had a clue about it. It's mortifying to look on it now. And then to see the signs that I saw, to see that the two of you owned that house, to see that she wasn't really in Mexico. My friend Billy Bush trying to get her out of Mexico because he knows the people. He knows two of the guys that own Moon Palace. He called them for me to help get her out, and she wasn't there. And I still didn't listen to him.
That's because you don't want to believe the alternative, because you're so emotionally invested in somebody.
You're completely emotionally invested in it, and now it's a matter of getting healthy and just getting the hell out of it. What are you doing to remain healthy? Your life, I can sit and write. I can I can do some things. I don't have the entanglement of children or a soon-to-be ex-wife that's trying to hold my kids at bay. The reality is that I wonder about you and how you're getting healthy or staying healthy, or what life is like for you at this moment.
Well, I think at this moment life is miserable because I'm bound to this stupid scooter of mine because of my my recent
you have a broken ankle. No one knows this, obviously. I know this because you and I talk. We're like teenage girls on the text messages these days. I never would have thought you and I would have ever had a friendship, ever. Yeah, you have a broken ankle issue, and you've had some hospital kind of related stuff, and so you're not only down emotionally, but you're down physically as well.
I'm down physically. My emotions, I'm all right. The only thing that really gets me is just the fact that I can't see my girls. I mean, it's going on 3 months now, and I haven't seen or spoken or heard their voices. And occasionally, somebody will send me pictures of something that they were able to snatch off of whatever Snapchat or whatever people play with.
Some social media, right?
Yeah, and so it gives me like little glimmers of hope. Having Madison here for as long as she's been here, back from school, has been a blessing. I don't know if I would have made it through, to be quite honest. I was pretty down. It was pretty low point.
And I'm glad you're still here, and I'm glad you're fighting on. And as I don't have any idea when this becomes public, but we're sitting here in the beginning of July of 2024 as you talk about this, and today's the 10th, and Madison's around, so you've got her for a little over a month at this point. So that's good that not being alone. So let me ask you one more quick thing. There was a point right before she left you and went to be with Russ where I had confronted her. You had reached out to me and said, listen, there's information that you need to know. You and I had kind of a knockdown over text, and we're probably both pissed at each other. And at one point, I had blocked you, and then you sent me an email about something, and I responded to it. And it was kind of the holy shit. I'm sorry, I was an asshole. Tell me your story. Right.
I remember that.
And that was where I confronted her, and I think she realized that I was probably going to put the podcast out. And this was the early days. I did a version of the podcast where you were still the abuser. I never did anything with it. No one ever heard it. I just started to write therapeutically. And there was a version where you weren't a good guy.
Bombas makes the most comfortable socks, underwear, and T-shirts.
Warning, Bombas are so absurdly comfortable you may throw out all your other clothes.
Sorry, do we legally have to say that?
No, this is just how I talk, and I really love my Bombas.
They do feel that good. And they do good, too. One item purchased equals one item donated.
To feel good and do good, go to bombas.com/Wondery and use code WONDERY for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/Wondery and use code WONDERY at checkout.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Yeah.
And I immediately, started to write for myself therapeutically about this, and didn't even know that I was going to put something out about it. I just know I needed to heal from it because it was so devastating to me to give up. I thought she was sick. I mean, there were 563 days. I thought she was in the hospital. That's the math on that. That's how long I lived and slept with a phone under my pillow, thinking that she was going to die, thinking she wouldn't make it. So she came out to you after I confronted her on the phone. And what did she say to you? Because this is when she got nervous and the shit hit the fan in your home, right around this time.
She did come out because I was staying in the RV at the time, because I had moved out of the house. She told me that she was worried about what you might be concocting. And made it sound like, you were this deranged, over the top guy, I guess. I don't know how to explain it.
Is that with anger, or was it with
No, it wasn't
some
with
sort
anger.
of delusional thing?
I almost felt like it was fear, and she probably was fearful. because she knows what she's done, and it's not like you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. It's done, it's out.
Sure.
And I think that was the fear inside of her, is that people were going to learn what a horrific person she really is. So that night I was just telling her, I said, if you're so concerned, why don't you just file a restraining order against him? I actually brought that up, and I was like, I kept thinking to myself lately, I'm like, what a dummy. To put that seed in there. But
yeah, because she used that against you, and one other thing that she admitted to me, and that's how I'm hoping to right the wrong for you, obviously.
Right. So I remain hopeful that people will learn the truth about her. I remain hopeful that my daughters will, at some point in their lives, realize that Daddy wasn't the monster in this story. I don't know if it'll ever be revealed to them, and sometimes I don't even know if I want them to know.
I'm no one to give relationship or family advice to. I'm no one to take it from, actually, is probably the way to say that. But the reality is that you do need to have your story told to them. I've tried as much as possible as I tell my story, and my mechanic on this, I try to refer to texts for everything. The beauty of this story is that I can verify everything I talk about, because so much of our relationship was text-based. The in-person stuff is what it is, but in terms of what she lied about, the cancer and the doctors and all of that stuff, every single word of all of those things I have on my phone from her phone. So it's easy to do that. And I think that it's tougher for you to do that with your girls, but telling the story in a non-emotional way to them so that they understand what you are and who you are. And they obviously can hear this side of, or this piece of that story, but I think it's important that they hear it, the truth about what their mom is.
You got to remember, though, that they're being spoon-fed lie after lie. I mean, they firmly believe that I have paid you to concoct this whole podcast up. That's what they're being told.
See, I have a message. I'll say this about that. Here's where I'll start to get, to be argumentative on a couple things. I have a text message from her, which you've seen, which goes back to a month after she was caught, where I sent it to her. I sent her the early version, and she was threatened by that. She said to me, I can't believe you did that. It made me sick. I deserve it. I lied, all of that. And then to hear that, like, I've had communication with her friends at work, and they have shown me messages saying, well, Rachel and Russ are telling people that you're someone that Mark hired to write a podcast and to pay to tell this preposterous story. And I thought, who could concoct
Right?
all of that? Like, I have her initials tattooed. I haven't talked about this. I have her fucking initials tattooed on my chest. Like, you think I did that for a podcast? These pictures of her in the hospital with cancer, like, I was hired by you to do this? I need that in my life?
I mean, it's a pretty feeble attempt to deflect, but again, my girls are impressionable. They're very young, and they'll believe just about anything she tells them.
And it's their mom, right? So I get that. I can't sit here and say to you, your girls are wrong and they're crazy. This has nothing to do with your girls. This has to do with the women at work. It has to do with social media. A couple of people have sent social media posts where Rachel talked about the release of this, saying that there are these lies and deception and betrayal that have been put out there, and the betrayal part of it is me, right? It's me betraying her confidence by releasing the content of her text messages. So, and my response to that is a resounding, you lied to me, so I can't betray you by sharing your lies. That's where we are. That's where this is. I mean, are you really that far removed from reality? I don't know.
Is. I think she is that far removed from reality. I don't think she deals in reality. I think she deals in fantasy.
That's my position on this. And the fact that she had sent you this message at one point. She had sent you this message at one point about Brian, the guy that, she ran away and married after the first time she married you, and about a guy named Mike who was, someone she was involved with, who she also sent fake ultrasound pictures to, and about several of the other guys. And one of the things in there was a line about me, and it said, I lied to Harry about cancer to get his attention.
Yeah.
Imagine that for 2.5 years, just to have my attention. She lied about being on death's door.
To be able to do that to somebody, the sociopathic, it's crazy to me. I mean, I couldn't do that to somebody because I have feelings, I have empathy for people. I don't believe possesses those qualities. I really don't.
I think you're right. I think this whole thing with the girls, and there's a part of me that kind of hates doing this without saying to her, listen, Rachel, I'll extend the invitation to you if you want to come. I want to give you the floor to talk, but we know you won't. You don't want to do that. And certainly on my side, I know everything that I say is backed up, and we have that in my favor. And for you, you just want to have a relationship with your girls, but she'll never come here and talk. She'll never say, okay, I will talk to you, and I'll run. I mean, listen, I don't give a shit. I'll run the whole thing unedited. I don't care. I don't need to.
The fact that she can go to our marriage counselor and tell him that she was raped, and that's the reason why she behaves this way. She may very well have been raped at some point, but it certainly wasn't by the person she's perpetrating it to have happened from. That is all false.
Something happened to her at some point. The question is, what happened to her?
Yeah.
Why does she do this?
That remains to be seen. And I don't think we'll ever know the answer to that because, number one, she won't tell the truth. I don't see anybody else stepping forward to admit to it.
Things got difficult in that home after the death of her father. And that's probably around the time that she had to have gone through whatever she went through to get to where she is, whether she was touched or suffered some sort of other trauma, or the trauma of the death of her dad was enough. I don't know.
Well,
we'll never know.
You've got a 9-year span from the time her father died until she graduated high school. That's 9 years of who knows what happened during those 9 years. That's a long time.
We know for a fact that there is a girl who I'm trying to get, who talks about church camp and high school, and Rachel faking the seizures, which you knew about, but also talking about being attacked and assaulted sexually, and the lie about pregnancy as well when she was a young girl, maybe 14, 15 years old.
Right. I've heard those stories as well.
Yeah. So, maybe we'll find out, maybe we won't. I'm not going to stop digging, I can tell you that. So
it's quite the rabbit hole, that's for sure.
I've sucked up a ton of your time. Anything that you want to ask me about at this point, I'm certainly happy to answer. No questions, but I've asked you everything I could possibly want to ask you, and I think I owe you, and certainly anyone listening, some answers. So if there's anything you want to do with me on that front, you're welcome to do it. If not, we can say goodbye. And
the only thing that I would like to say to you is that
here we go. Go ahead.
I sincerely hope that you're able to find some clarity through all this, and not let this eat away at you the way it has for both of us, I think. And remember that, we're survivors. We're still here. I think it's important to remember that.
Those are kind words that are appreciated. Thank you.
And I appreciate your friendship.
As I said moments ago, I never would have predicted that we would have been connected in this way. And this is a difficult thing on so many levels. How do you ever trust anyone again in your life after 22 years of this deception?
Well,
how does that happen?
I'll tell you what, I have a multitude of friends, and they are the realest thing in my life. And I think with being able to reach out to like my pastor or my mentors, they're all there for me. And I think that's enough for me.
Yeah.
To get through it.
There are a couple of buckets, right? There's the sadness bucket, which, you know, it took a long time. It took a long fucking time to get past that. And to also be stuck to continue to communicate with her, thinking she was telling the truth about you. Like the scam was revealed, and I still stuck around. I still did what I needed to do to try to get to her. And then one day, just out of the blue, the whole thing gets blown up. And putting that away, like literally taking that and putting it in a box, wrapping it in bubble wrap and that clear moving tape, and putting it in a box in my mental attic. And then getting past the anger stuff, getting past dealing with seeing her texting saying, well, I kept Harry around and I told Harry I had cancer for attention, or thinking about how she's handled you or the girls or any of that stuff. Every bit of it makes me angry. So I'm still, admittedly, I'm still working through a lot of that too, because there are days that I have really good days and I don't think about it. And there are other days I just want to, I want scorched earth.
Yeah, no, I get it. Trust me, I do. I just hope you find some peace in the end.
I wish the same for you, and I appreciate your participation and cooperation in this with me. And I hope it opens up some eyes, certainly at a minimum, for people to stay away from her, right? To be alert.
Yeah.
And to, if you have suspicions, to dig. I mean, the two of us are no guys to probably tell people, dig into it if you feel like something's wrong. But the reality is that this is a cautionary tale.
Yep, absolutely.
When I connect with listeners of the podcast or friends that are just learning about my experience with Rachel, what I went through, they generally offer platitudes. I got a text after one of the episodes near the end of last season from this friend of mine who's been following along, and he sent 2 words, fucking diabolical. And he's right. When you hear my story, I want you to not just think about me, though. I want you to think about Madison, obviously the awful things that happened to her. And again, since that interview last summer, her mom stopped participating in college tuition and expenses and cut her phone off. And at least one of her sisters has reached out to her on a couple of occasions. They had communication, but Rachel stopped that. That's a risk that she's unwilling to take. Think about Mark, though. He married Rachel 23 years ago, and they're still technically married. The divorce is pending, but for 23 years, she had countless affairs, countless fake pregnancies, lies upon lies. Think about the energy that it takes to have an affair. These affairs she had weren't just hit it and quit it type affairs. These affairs involved a lot of effort and emotion and storytelling. The affairs I learned and spoke with men about involved elaborate stories. Rachel lured me in and lured men in and kept them there with the emotional affair. You know the power of the emotional affair. Sex and the emotion. She's a pro. Don't forget that. I suppose that, like many things, this act of hers is a perishable skill that required continued practice and continues to require practice to hone the craft. On the next episode of The Messenger, the Rachel Cancer Scam, Rachel was married to a second man while married to Mark, and I found him. I'll share everything I know with you about Rachel's bigamy and deceit with that other husband, who's actually husband number 3 for Rachel. 3 husbands by the time she was 23. Pretty impressive. Next time on The Messenger, the Rachel Cancer Scam.
Find yourself looking for a new job or change in career? Monster.com is here to help. We are not only here to bring you job postings, but also AI interview prep and salary tools, expert career advice, and top-notch resume services. We've got everything you need to land your perfect job fit. Discover the magic of finding the ideal job with Monster.com. Your future starts now. Visit Monster.com today. Your next job opportunity is just a click away.